Do you have? First of all, is this a Surface Pro 128?
Yes.
Where'd you get one of them?
This is a Surface Pro 128, and it was a little bit hard to get hold of.
Yeah.
I was not going to go wait in a line for a Surface Pro, and I was not going to, camp out websites over and over and over again, ordering, pre-orders and back orders and all that. So I basically just got lucky one day when I went to the Microsoft Store's webpage, and it said that there was one in stock.
Not as hard now as it was when they first came out.
It's not as hard now. Yeah, they're available now for the 64 and the 128.
So you had a Surface RT. So this is not your first Windows 8.
I still have the Surface RT here.
So let's compare the two. Is it roughly the same form factor?
It's basically the same design.
You use the same keyboard, I notice.
You can use the same keyboard and all the same accessories, but let me get them next to each other here. So
it's a little thicker, it looks like.
What we've got is we've got the Surface Pro over here with the type cover and the Surface RT with the touch cover. So it's actually, it looks noticeably thicker.
Yeah.
And they say it's only, I think, a quarter of an inch thicker. But for some reason,
it's not insignificant when you're only half an inch.
It seems small when you're looking at the specs.
Yeah.
And then you get it in real life and realize that extra half pound and that extra quarter inch or so is really significant.
That has fans,
too. It feels hefty. It has fans. And so what they've done is they've given it some vents here around the side. So instead of actually putting a particular fan vent, this is actually a nice design because you don't have the heat blowing out in any one direction. So
it goes all the way
laptops,
around,
you kind of, you don't want to put it next to your leg because that's where it blows out. So
it's one of the complaints people had about RT was the Surface RT was it wasn't too snappy. How does the Surface Pro feel? That's an i5?
This is an i5. It's very snappy. And the benefit of it is that you're going to be able to run full Windows applications on it. So
that's why you get it for desktop for compatibility. Hide his password, would you? All right. He's going to log in right there.
All right. So yeah, inside of the kind of Metro interface, everything is very fluid and snappy, and it's got an i5 and it's got 4 gigs of RAM, 64-bit. So everything inside of this interface is great, and that's something that the RT sort of had trouble with. One of the issues that you get with this, though, is that the reason you buy this, in my opinion, is really so that you can still run traditional Windows applications.
Right.
And the issue is that when you're running traditional Windows applications, you're going to be using the desktop mode most of the time.
Now, this is a pretty high-resolution screen.
This is a high-resolution screen. This is 1920 by 1080. And so 1920,
which is nice.
It's nice. It's very high
those
resolution.
Touch targets must be kind of tiny.
But the issue is that Windows has never really been designed for touch in the first place. So it's not designed for touch if you're using the Surface RT, which has a 1366 by 768.
So hitting the close window or
hitting close window and things like that. You know, you can do it, but one of the issues is that this is set to 150% font scaling. So you can see, icons, the applications that support font scaling and font DPI, they look pretty good. All of the legacy applications, though, they either have very blurry fonts where everything's blown up or everything's too small. So one of the good things that you can do is they say that, well, you can run real Photoshop on it. So I'll just go ahead here and launch my Photoshop on it.
This is a 10.5-inch screen?
It's 10.1.
10.1.
And 1920 by 1080. You can see
very
how
high
small
resolution
the type
for
is
something.
there.
Yeah, this small.
And then Photoshop has not been designed.
But now you can use the trackpad. I mean,
you can use the trackpad. So you've got the little trackpad here on the type or the touch.
But you're not going to be able to use your fingers for it.
But you're not going to be able to use your fingers. No. You can barely use the trackpad because it's hard to see without getting close to it.
How tiny
exactly what is what.
Yeah.
So I can come up here and make a new image.
I can't imagine somebody would buy this to use Photoshop, though. You're much more likely to buy it to use Office.
Right.
Maybe some line of business programs.
Office sort of has the ability to do that. But line of business programs is why I had bought this to evaluate. And those line of business programs don't support that high DPI, and they don't look right in it.
Right. And Excel, which is something people use in Office quite a bit. Oh, that's neat. It does a stylus. That's cool.
So, yeah, so you have Excel. You get a stylus on the side here. So, yeah, I've got my full version of Office on it. But you don't get it. So the Surface RT, you get that kind of home and student version.
It comes with Office.
Word and Excel.
This does not.
This does not. So this has my, $500 copy of Office on it. It has my Creative Suite on it. So, I've loaded this thing up with, $1,500 worth of software.
And that was another complaint some people had, was that in a 128 gig machine, you only have about 60 or 70 gigs free. Have you found it to be a little hard to get everything on there you wanted to?
It's getting a little bit tight. So I knew that I did not want the 64 gig because you've got like 20-something, 28, 29 gigabytes free. And I still wanted to be able to install Lightroom, Photoshop, maybe a game or two on Steam. And you would not have the ability to do that unless you bought the 128 version. I would actually like to have a 256 version, just because now if I take this with me and I want to load any photos on it, my memory card in my camera is 128 gigs.
Yeah, you could fill that up.
Where am I going to put all of that?
Now, you can put an SD card, a micro SD card.
Yes,
in there,
you can put an SD card in there.
So that could add 64 more gigs.
You could add some more gigs that way, but if you're going to use it for any serious storage, you're still going to be carrying around a portable hard drive.
It has a USB 3 interface?
Yes, it does have USB 3, which I don't believe the RT has.
Right.
But I've got about 47 gigabytes free, and I think I have Team Fortress 2, the CS apps, Office.
Well, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I was expecting less.
Right.
So, I'm pretty happy with that.
See, that one of the problems I had was on the RT was with Excel. It's hard. Those touch points are a little bit too small too. Excel is not made for touch, and so it's nice that you can use these traditional programs on here, but it's not exactly optimal. You might want a bigger computer or a better mouse,
right,
to use those.
So one of the benefits is that you can run Excel, you can run the full version of OneNote, but
kind of good to read
and then you get this kind of stuff because it's Windows.
Right.
I mean, I just launched Excel. I don't know what happened last time I launched Excel, but maybe I was rotated, maybe I had it smaller, but now I'm going to try to grab it with my finger and.
It's a real challenge. It can be an exercise
and that's nice and
frustration. So he's stretching the window out to accommodate the templates.
So now I can open my blank workbook, and they've resized Excel so that on the 1080 screen it's still usable, where when you go to Photoshop, I can't touch any of that. Right. I'm not even going to try.
Right.
So the other thing that you get with the Surface Pro is you get the Wacom style pressure sensitive digitizer.
So it's a 10 touch points, but
so
many hundreds of levels.
But you get, I think it's 1,024. I might be wrong about that.
Pressure.
But, you get a bunch of levels of pressure. So in a software application that supports it, unfortunately, Photoshop is one that does not support it yet. You have the ability to draw with the pen, and the harder you push, the darker. So you can see how I've got real light, thin, if I just barely touch it there. But then if I really push down on it, I get
and this is OneNote
marks there. This is OneNote 2013.
Yeah. There's also there's a great, Microsoft has a great free painting program.
Yes.
That will take advantage of the touch.
Yeah. So there's more and more apps that are available that are going to take advantage of that. So if it was something that you wanted to carry around and use for note taking, it's a nice feature to have. However, there's a couple of design issues with it. One of the issues is that there's nowhere to put the pen.
Oh, it doesn't have a slot?
So it has a little magnetic. What they did is they decided to use the really terrible magnetic charging port that is really fiddly and hard to actually it's hard to connect. Like you're trying to feel where it connects, and then you're like, oh, do I have it connected, do I not? This uses that same kind of port there, so like you sort of have to feel around for it, and then it finally clicks. So what I'll do is turn it around this way so you can sort of see it there. It sits on here, and the issue with that is that you're gonna have to store it that way. So when you charge it, you have to remove the pen so that you can charge it, and then you have to remember to put the pen back. So I had to look around last night because I did not know where my pen was.
Does it come with a pen?
It does come with the pen. The pen's about $30 to replace it. And the issue is that when you're holding it, so if I want to pull my type cover off here and use it as a tablet instead of as an actual kind of notebook replacement,
you're going to knock the pen loose.
The pen's just there. So when you kind of grab it, there it goes.
There it goes.
So, the pen just kind of comes right off. So, you have their charging port, you have the mini display port, micro SD, the keyboard kind of dock connector there, and your USB 3 and volume and headphone. But there's no actual dock connector. So to use it as a proper desktop replacement, if you didn't want to have a desktop at home and wanted to hook this to a large monitor and a keyboard and a wired Ethernet, you're going to end up with this sitting on a desk with a bunch of cables all attached to it, and it's not really designed to do that.
All right, here's the real question: how does Team Fortress 2 play on there? Let's see it. Come on,
you
gotta launch it. I gotta see this. I'm not crazy about the kickstand because you can only have one angle, and
so
probably not ideal for gaming.
The kickstand angle is not really ideal for gaming. Yeah. The other thing that I found.
Do you use touch in Team Fortress?
No. So the other thing is that this is a very powerful machine, and I'm trying to figure out what you can actually do with it.
Right.
So it's great that they put all of this power into here.
Right.
But what can you actually play any great games with it? And right now, there's nothing built for the Windows 8 Store apps that are optimized for touch, that are optimized, to really use all the power of this machine. And one of the things I noticed is that with this type cover, you cannot use both the WASD type keys and the that's nice too, and the trackpad at the same time. So
are you getting a security warning?
Yeah, you get that Windows firewall thing the first time. So if I were to dock this with my little keyboard dock here, I can't use the WASD and the touchpad at the same time because you can use either or.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that limitation.
Yeah, if you're actually using this trackpad, the keys don't work. And then if you're using the keyboard, the trackpad doesn't work.
That's probably to keep you from incidental trackpad.
It's probably like a palm check thing, which is one of the negatives about some of the other devices is that they don't have that at all.
You could use a USB mouse.
You can plug in your USB mouse. You can plug in...
how's the frame rate on this anyway?
It's pretty good. You get about 30 to 40 frames a second. It's an Intel... I guess I'll say no thanks.
And again, you see why.
Again, I got
Windows. No fun at all.
I
press the home button and get the hell out of there.
And so I've already had to install Classic Start on it because I can't stand actually using.
8 takes a little getting used to. There you have it. Let's get the pros and cons on the Surface Pro.
So that went about as expected. So, you're just trying to find things that you can really do with it, and it's just so many compromises in one package.
Right. It's cool.
It's cool.
It's a neat form factor, but it's not really work ready.
It's not going to be the thing that saves Microsoft, and it's not going to be the killer. There's no killer app or killer device really for this.
Right.
So the pros is that it's got great performance. It's very fast. There's really no compromises in this kind of size and form factor. You're not going to get something that's as fast with the nice quiet design and all that. The full HD display is beautiful, looks great, but that's a downside for many legacy Windows apps. So
it's so high res.
It's so high res that I just can't recommend it for legacy line of business apps, and things like that. And the pressure sensitive pen is a really nice feature to have.
$899.
It's $899 for the 64 gig. It's $999 for the 128.
That's the one you want.
So that's the one you want. So you're at $999, and that does not include the Office software does not include a touch or a type cover. So that's an additional $119 for the touch cover and $129 for the type cover.
Right.
And the other con is that this isn't your always on, always around tablet. The battery life is only 2 to 3 hours. When you're using it, for any kind of task. You can eke more out of it if you go into the display settings, set it to the dimmest setting, open up the Metro Internet Explorer, don't go to anything that has flash, just try to conserve power and browse the web kind of in the low power mode. Maybe you can get 4 hours out of it. And so in real life, though, I keep getting 2 to 3 hours, usually around 2. And that's just not long enough.
That's disappointing.
There's no, the battery's built in, so you can't swap the battery out with a charged one. There's no kind of desktop dock station where you'll be putting it back in that dock all the time. So you have to keep taking the pen on and off and putting the charger on. It charges pretty quickly. It charges about 2 to 3 hours as well. So at least there's that. But it also feels really heavy and thick. So
this is why we're glad you buy this stuff.
Right. So
we don't have to.
I buy it so that you don't have to. I buy it so that my clients don't have to. And it's sort of just...
Now you can make that recommendation. When your clients come to you and say, Russell, Exponentia, should I buy the Surface Pro? You'll say?
I'll say try. And the only reason I'm saying try is because it is the highest performance, best built, Windows Pro tablet that I've used and seen. So if you know that you want this...
If you need a tablet.
If you need this form factor, and you need to run the full Windows apps, and you can think of all kinds of cool things that you'll use it for and that you won't need your laptop and you won't need your desktop, then sure, you can try it. But, there's no 3G or 4G options. There's no dock options. It just feels, a little 1.0. And I think once Windows gets to the point where there is an application that is touch optimized that needs that kind of performance, you might benefit from that.
And certainly, if you're going to put your line of business apps on there, try them first to make sure they're usable, even on the very high resolution. So the screen
is the biggest issue with the line of business apps.
Yeah.
I found that like the Dell Latitude 10, which is an Atom-based tablet, runs the line of business apps just as well.
Right.
And doesn't have the screen resolution issues and has the docks.
Sometimes a lower res screen is better.
So yeah, unfortunately, everybody and I was hopeful that this was going to be able to replace my laptop. And, you can't quite type as well on the type cover as you can on a real laptop. You've got your fixed, kickstandy thing. You can't use it on your lap. And the battery life of my i7 laptop is twice as long.
Right.
So,
thank you, Russell Tammany, Exponentia.com. He's our consulting engineer around here and keeps the networks humming.
We
appreciate it.